Hello to the Global Composers Network community. My name is Mitch Gardner and this is the first video of a new GCN series called the GCN A-Z. In each video I'll be going through the alphabet and I'll be looking at something to do with either music theory, composition or your DAW that starts with the letter that we are on. This is the first video of the series. We will be looking at the letter A. For this I'm going to look at automation within a DAW. So, what is automation? It is a way to control a fader or a knob in a channel. Originally, projects would have been recorded using a 24-track recorder, so you might end up finding 12 people by the desk using both of their hands to mix. Obviously, this wasn't ideal for anybody, and it was companies SSL or Solid State Logic and Neve who started to make more convenient ways to get the faders to be recorded, layered and played back. This made life a lot easier for the 12 people that stood around that desk waiting for their fader cue, and actually invented the specialist mix engineer role. This was fulfilled by the likes of Emmy Award-winning producer Bob Clearmountain, who worked with the Rolling Stones, Bruce Springsteen, Bryan Adams, and many more. Automation initially came around in DAWs for MIDI continuous controller data or control change. It's also short for MIDI CC. This is to play back the movements of the fader. Since then, automation is widely available on DAWs now, and you can be extremely precise with what you want the automation to do. So, here are a list of shortcuts for each DAW to help you get the automation channel up. So for Logic, it's just the letter A, providing that the Advanced Tools selection is turned on in the Preferences pane. For Pro Tools, it's the minus button. For Ableton, there is a little button at the top. For FL Studio, you right click on the fader in the mix and then select Automation Clip and then just drag it where you want it to automate. And in Cubase, you just right click the channel and then just select Show Automation. Here is an example of automation in action. I'm just going to open up a recent project I did for a short film. So the main automation I used here was predominantly volume and high cut. So let's take a listen to an excerpt and see what I've done. Okay, there we are. So that's just a section, the end section there of the short film I did. We'll go through a couple of layers now, just so you can see the automation in action and see what I've done and how to make that work. So if we just start at the top, so we've just got a arpeggiated bass here. So let's have a look at the automation. So we've got flat on the volume, that's all right, and then we've got just a bit of a cut down on the high pass filter, on the low pass filter. Or a high cut at the end. So let's just put it in action just so we can see what this high cut filter can do if you've never seen it before. So firstly, I'll just say about the little dots here that are just circled around. These are what they call nodes. So these are what associate MIDI to move from from one place to another. So if I was just to click one there and then to click one there and then drag this one up, this would move with it. So it would just automate to go up there and then swiftly back down. So because this is a filter for frequency, we can see that these numbers here mean hertz. So we've got 230 hertz, 360 hertz, 580 hertz, etc., etc. So if we wanted to go from 360 hertz and then let's say we wanted to go down to 57 hertz and then up to 10,600 hertz or 10.6 kilohertz. Let's have a listen to what this would sound like now. So we can hear the high frequencies there just coming in slowly and then going away slowly. So that's just where the high cut would work. And then the volume would be the same for the nodes. So if we just take it back here, so this is just a bit earlier in the film. You can just see I've used some automation here for the volume, so you just get an idea of what the volume would sound like here. So you'd have probably heard it be quite muffled at the start. Just going on from the high cut, there was a high cut just used there as well, so we can see that's going from smack bang at the bottom all the way up to 580 hertz, which what makes that muffling sound. So it's good for a transitional effect. So the next bit I'll just go on to actually then will be the whoosh I just used at the rectangular section I just looked at. So this whoosh 2, I believe it is. Just have a look. Yeah, there we go. So we're going from 20 hertz to 3,300. So let's just hear that on its own. Yeah, there we go. So just mute the arpeggiated bass there. Have we got any volume going? No, so the volume's quite low and it's not doing anything there. But I do have some reverb output, so changing the reverb throughout this channel. So yeah, so with the whoosh, you can just hear doing the high cut again. Zoom in a bit. High cut. Another thing to mention as well, so I'm using the pointer tool. You can also use the pencil tool as well if you want to draw in your automation. So if we wanted the automation to go in and back down, in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out. This is what it would sound like with that. There we go. So that's a very exaggerated example, just so you can see what's going on there. That's for the high cut there on the whoosh. Another thing as well to mention, I'll just see if I've got any here. Oh, I've got some earlier on actually. Another thing as well to mention is region-based automation. So each of these sections you see here are different regions. So within each region you can automate modulation, expression, pitch bend, volume again, sustain pedal, so that'd be good for pianos and things like that. So I'll just show you within one of these. I believe I did this one. Sorry, I was trying to remember which one it is. So we've got the note there, and then I can just go to my region-based. There we go. So region-based automation, I'll just show you in Logic here. It's just this button at the bottom. I think in Logic 10 it's somewhere up here, but it's got pretty much the same icon. So if we just listen to this now on its own, so it's the scary strings. Okay, pretty scary. So we can see in the region section here, the bender is on and it's going down 54. So that's, I think in contact terms, that's nearly 2 tones, not quite there. So if you could change this in the contact settings, you can change it on here as well. So 54 is just a little below 2 tones, but you can hear it dying away as well at the end, which means I've got some volume automation. There we go, bingo. So wrong one. So I'm starting at nothing, going to 36.9 for that amount of time, which is what, 4 or so bars, and then dying away right at the end. So it just comes in and then goes away very subtly. So it's like it's just never, you know, you couldn't hear it enter it at all. So if I just got rid of that automation there, it comes straight in. So it's still quite subtle because of the recording. So if you try to do it again with the automation on here, it's just a bit more subtle and just lets the actual sample just load up properly, so you can hear it in, you know, in its best terms, in its best ways. So I'll look at another one for a second. Another one I've got here is a arpeggiated boom. I named this very well apparently. So we'll just look at this section here. I've got a bit going on the high cut. So it's just literally just a kick drum I found on Vacuum Pro. Yeah. So I've just got a little kick drum on here, and then just got that pulsating. Let's just get it on. And then all I'm doing is got a high cut and a low cut. So I've got a, so we've got a high cut. So this is cutting the high frequencies, and as you can imagine, a low cut is cutting the low frequencies. So putting them together, you can really mess around with the different sounds. We just heard that sounding quite high pitched, high frequencies, but no bottom end. But if I go, let's just find a bit where I just use a bit more of the bass, a bit further along. Oh, that's definitely high frequencies. See, there we go. A bit more subtle, but less high frequencies, more low frequencies. So you can really mess around with the different sounds that you've got going. So we'll just go to this section at bar 110. Right, let's listen to this on its own. Doesn't sound like anything special, as you can hear. It's literally just an arpeggiated boom with some reverb on it. But we can hear I've got some volume. No, I've not got any volume actually. That's my fault there. So the low cut, sorry, is right at the top. So we're talking 17 kilohertz. So that's literally cutting up so much. So if I took that out completely, it starts straight away. So yeah, so we're starting. So having that high cut in literally just lets it just come in slowly. So that's another way. It's a good way for synths predominantly I've found, which is why I've used it on here. So we've got that as well with the low cut, the high cut, sorry. So the high cut's just on. So with that being on, that's just letting all frequencies through still. So if that was at 20, that's just letting 20 hertz through. If it's at 20,000, it's letting 20 kilohertz through the whole job lot. So that's another bit there. Have we got any more region-based automation I could show? Yep, so modulation. This is a popular one within contact instruments. So I've just used Berlin Inspire here just for some low octave strings. Another one to use is expression. That's normally used within east-west instruments as well to control the modulation, and the modulation is used to control the vibrato of strings. So we'll just listen to these here, just make sure. Yeah, so I'm also advertising it with I don't know why I just used that word. I'm also using it with volume automation. So it's a case of realism here, especially because it's obviously real instruments being used. I've got it starting at absolutely 0, going to 21.5 decibels, and if we look at the modulation as well, I'm starting bang right at the bottom pretty much, and then going to the middle with a full almost amount of modulation I can use. So let's just listen to it first. Okay, so it's blending in and out very nicely, so there's nothing too offensive there. Sorry about I forgot to mute the arpeggiated bass there. So these complement each other in terms of modulation and volume. It's always nice not to do it too much, because you want to keep that essence of realism there with string instruments and any other woodwind or brass instrument or any orchestral instrument anyway. So I've started at the bottom here just so it comes in more subtly. So if I started a bit higher up, the sample would be loaded straight away and it would play, and it would probably get in the way, if anything. So having it come in like that just lets it blend in more with the instruments around it. If I just put that into context here. so we can hear we've got the hit of the piano on each start of the bar, and then we're going to these strings to fill in the gap. So whilst these are dying away, the strings are coming in, so just to fill that gap. So that's why the modulation is coming in every sort of two bars. It's coming in and out, in and out. What else have I got that I could show you? Booms. So what I've done here, yeah. So we've got a reverse boom. So this is just a boom what I've just got. I'll just play that. So I've got a high cut on it to get rid of the high end. This is what it sounds like on its own. Yeah, and then let's just get the high cut on it. So a lot more subtle. You can really use that effect in your mix, like I've done here, just to emphasize maybe something that's happened, maybe to emphasize a change in key. You can see I've used it quite a bit in this track here. And then I've got the reverse boom to transition into stuff as well. So let's just hear what that sounds like. So that's got a high cut on as well. Yeah, so nothing too bad at all. But I think that's pretty much it, really. I'll leave it there. I've gone through quite a lot the same thing, but just to give you an idea of how this thing, I've only really looked at high cut and volume and a bit of modulation, but hopefully you get the idea of how you can implement this into a project, into a track, and get some realism out of some instruments, or add some effects to some electronic instruments and real instruments as well. I'll leave it there. But thanks for watching as well. I hope you found this helpful. I look forward to seeing you in the next one, which will be the letter B. I won't announce what it is going to be now, but obviously you'll find out in the next video. So once again, guys, thank you very much, and I will see you in the next one.